Hey everybody, it's Party Elite, and today we're checking out Laysara Summit Kingdom, an absolutely gorgeous city builder that I've had my eyes on ever since I first came across it when this random Reddit post just blew up out of nowhere. I've had my eyes on it like a hawk ever since, and the game is coming together very nicely. It's got a very unique setting in that you're building your city on a mountain, and with that unique setting come unique mechanics, unique limitations, unique systems. The game does such a good job of doubling down on that setting, and I love when devs do something like that. Now, if you like what you see here today, folks, please don't hesitate to wishlist the game on Steam. That's a great way to support independent developers especially. It lets them know people are interested, and it also helps their visibility on Steam so more people can find it and more people can wishlist it. So if you like what you see here, hit that wishlist button for this game, and beyond that as well, folks, it's a great way to stay up to date with the game's dev cycle. Apart from that, if you'd like to stay up to date with city building, management, and strategy games, you might want to consider subscribing to this channel, because that's a big part of what we do here. With that said, let's dive on in to Laysara Summit Kingdom. Now, this is a demo, and the way it approaches things is with a bit of a tutorialized opening, and then eventually it gets a little less hand-holdy, and we get to explore some of the mechanics in a more free-form way. So first things first is just telling us how to move the camera around and stuff, but you can see, like, we're building our city on a mountain, and as you might imagine, that comes with a variety of limitations in terms of how much space you're working with and the kinds of stuff that's available at different levels as well. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool stuff. But let's actually see it in action, shall we? The first order of business is to place a marketplace. This acts as a hub not just for food distribution, but for the distribution of all kinds of goods. And as you might imagine, it's a city builder, so your people will have different kinds of demands, and as you distribute more and more goods to them, you'll be able to upgrade their buildings, so on and so forth. And we will see some of that in today's video. So let's place this market down, maybe right by the edge, or yeah, sure, let's place it up over there, and let's go ahead and get a road connection going as well. Gotta bring this thing in, right? So let's pop you up to there, and let's go ahead and do something like that. Nice and simple and clean for the time being. And next up, let's build some houses. So we need, what, 32 citizens? One house fits 4 people, so we'll need 8 houses. Easy enough to do, but before we do that, I just want to point out that there are different castes in this game. You've got your lowlanders, you've got your artisans, you've got your monks, and each of them are able to work in different kinds of workplaces. They're able to produce different kinds of goods, and they have different kinds of needs and demands. And I actually really like how this game approaches demands, so I'm excited to talk about that. But first, let's go ahead and place, what was it, 8 of these huts, right? So we'll go straight down this way, or maybe they get like a mountain's edge view kind of a thing. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, easy enough. And it's kind of nice as well when you put 2 buildings adjacent to each other. It changes how they actually look, which is a nice touch. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and do that, and let's get the road connection down to there. Nice and easy. These early objectives, it gets a bit more complex and less hand-holdy down the line, like I said earlier. But yes, the next order of business is to place a mandala. Now, before we do that, I just want to point out how these needs actually work. You have to fulfill the needs indicated in this upgrade progress bar before you're able to upgrade, in this case, the lowlanders hut, but eventually the other housing units as well. But it's not, like, precisely defined what exactly these citizens want. In some cases, we're told, okay, they want food, they want 2 different kinds of food, maybe 3 different kinds of food, or enough food to fulfill 3 bars worth, as we can see based on what you see here. Eggs, for example, would fill up 2 bars. Sampa would fill up 2 bars as well. Separately, they also need enlightenment, and for enlightenment, a mandala would fill up 2 bars as well. So that's a good way to fill this upgrade progress bar up, but we have 2 blank slots, which we could fill with anything, any combination of things that you know, might be more or less easy to get a hold of. So let's go ahead and build this mandala, and we'll see what happens with regards to their enlightenment demands and this upgrade progress bar. I think this is a very interesting way to do it, and that's why I want to highlight it so much. But let's go ahead and put this down right over here next to the marketplace, I suppose. Let's again, we're pretty limited on space, right? And that's another thing that's cool about building your city on a mountain is you have limitations like the amount of room you have. So sure, let's get the mandala set up over here, tightly packed, and again, this has a radius around which it'll actually be impactful, so got to be mindful of that. But let's drop you down there, And if we go back to one of our huts over here, you'll see that the mandala demand has been fulfilled, and it takes up 2 of these slots. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 to fill. And again, one of these 4 slots can be filled with anything, depending on, again, what's easier to get, what's harder to get, and how many slots each of their demands actually fills up. I hope I'm making sense there. If I'm not, feel free to ask me in the comments and I will gladly clarify, because I like this system so much, but I might be doing a terrible job of explaining it right now. I hope not. Anyway, they want to actually show how this works. This is where they describe how this system works. Good stuff. It's very different. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before, so I wanted to highlight it. But let's move on and take a look at resource production. So obviously, these guys want food. They want eggs and they want tsampa. So let's get them eggs first. In order to do so, we need a chicken farm. So let's get ourselves building a chicken farm, and this is a very simple resource to get access to. I'm just wondering how I want to lay this out. Let's put you off to the edge over here. I think that's all right. As long as we're able to reach the marketplace, we're okay. And all the way out over here, we still have access to the marketplace. So let's pop you down there. And let's go ahead and tell the chicken farm to send its eggs over to the marketplace. So you actually have to deal with the movement of goods, and you might be thinking it, so let me say it outright right away. It's not just on one level, but across multiple levels of the mountain. You will be moving goods from different layers, different strata, I suppose, because different strata will have access to different resources, so you got to make sure that goods are moving back and forth as needed. But with this done now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next step, which is to produce barley and tsampa. So let's go ahead and first establish our mill, right? And make sure that the mill is able to reach the marketplace. And separately, we'll have to establish our barley fields to provide the actual barley to the mill. And we need road connections and stuff separately for those as well. Let's get the mill down over here. That's too far away. Let's get you down over here instead, sure. And away from all the housing. You're down there. Let's go ahead and get some barley fields. But first, let's take a look at what we need here. We need 15 barley to produce 15 tsampa. Let's take a look at our production here. Each barley field produces 3 barley. So what, I would need 5 of them to reach our desired throughput, I suppose. So sure, let's go ahead and do, what? 1, 2, 3, and I'm hoping we can do 4 and 5. Ideally, the radius here is okay and everyone will have access. Let's figure it out. These guys are a little too far away? No, they're fine. They just don't have enough workers. Eventually, we'll build more housing. I could actually, you know what? I don't think the game will stop me from producing more housing. So why don't we go ahead and do that and connect you as well. And now these guys all have workers. As you can see, workers are automatically distributed to where they're needed, and workers are actually able to go between the different strata of the mountain, so you don't have to worry about too much micromanagement there. I think that's the right call. But these guys are all now producing barley, so let's go ahead and get that sent out to the mill. But you've probably already seen the mill has an issue with this icon. So the next order of business is to provide this building with yaks. Yaks provide a variety of services in these kinds of biomes in the real world. Yak milk, wool, and also just, labor, just manual labor. Is it called animal labor? Whatever the term you want to use. So we got to get some yaks in. And yaks are actually available through residential buildings as well. Each one of these simple yak breeding grounds produces 6 yaks for us to use. Eventually, we have advanced yak breeding as well, but there are some prerequisite resources that we don't have access to. Nonetheless, simple yak breeding. Let's go ahead and pop you down. I think it's nice to have it a little bit further away from everywhere everyone's living. I guess I could pop you down there, or just trying to figure out a nice spot for this. Let's pop you down there. We might eventually need more, so I'd like to have some room over here if need be. But that's enough yaks for our mill, which is now producing tsampa. Let's go ahead and send it out to the marketplace. There you go. And now these guys have their eggs, they have their tsampa, and they have their enlightenment through the mandala. This puzzle piecing was relatively simple. Further down the line, you can get a bit more mix and match with regards to what they want and what you want to get them, and I'll show that in just a moment's time. But with this done, let's go ahead and upgrade our houses. So we just need to upgrade 8 houses, and it actually looks like this house over here doesn't have access to the mandala. So you can see it's got the stuff from the marketplace, but it doesn't have access to you. Can I fix that by placing a road down here? I can't. Damn, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Everybody around him is moving up, but this guy's gonna stay in his little hut. That's fine. Let's go ahead and upgrade these houses, and as you can tell, they do change their aesthetic as you do that. Buddy back over here can wait. He's fine. All right, good stuff. Try not to get too ahead of the tutorial, because that might cause us some trouble. Next up, we're going to expand. Again, as you can tell, we're running out of space over here, so not only can we expand upwards, which we will be doing later, but we can also expand side to side. So we're going to head in this direction because the other direction is blocked off, right? Like, we can't really push over this way, but we can very much push over this way. One thing I will say is that the camera is a little funky. When you pan from like left to right, or from right to left, as you can see, it kind of follows the contour of the mountain, which it takes some getting used to. It's a little disorienting at first because of that rotation. You're just not expecting it. It's not bad, but it takes some getting used to. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Let's go ahead and build a bridge, maybe up top over here, and that gives us plenty of room to play. So sure, let's go ahead and get a bridge all the way up over here. Yeah, and let's go ahead and connect that bridge to our main hub over here, and we'll get a marketplace going up over there as well. So this is when the game starts to get a little less hand-holdy. It lets us be a bit more freeform with stuff. And oh, come on. Why you gotta be so... Alright, that's okay, that's okay. Let's pull you down to... I want to try and make this as neat as possible. As neat as possible. What if I... Sure, do that. That's nice enough. And let's go ahead and build our marketplace over here. So, what am I thinking? Let's get the road extending out this way. Yeah, that's fair enough. And let's get our marketplace established in a roughly central location, I think. Yeah, let's pop you down. Actually, let's pop you down up there. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Next up, we're going to take a look at some more advanced resources for the next cast. We're now dealing with artisans. So we need 8 artisan houses at level 2. So as you can see, the game's kind of bringing things up a little bit. It's explained the basics, and now we can kind of do whatever we want to obtain higher level objectives, so to speak. Let's get 8 houses placed right over here. Let's make sure they have access to the marketplace, obviously. Or do you operate differently here? Because I'm not seeing you highlight the path. I think we'll be okay. Let's play it safe. Let's put you over here. Why not? So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and again you can see, oh, they look quite different when they're kept separate versus when they're attached, I suppose is the word to use there. Get the road situation figured out here, and we got to get these guys up to level 2. So what do they want? They want at least 1 kind of food and then 2 kinds of prosperity goods. Now those 2 slots are going to get filled by baths, but as you can see, they don't need anything for spirituality. However, we can still provide it to them. They have the demand, but it's not a necessity for upgrades. So one of these empty slots is going to be taken up by the mandala. So again, you can see there's a bit of variety with regards to how you want to approach things. You can also see here that tsampa and eggs only fill 1 upgrade slot as opposed to 2, like we saw with the previous huts, right? Whereas cheese fills 2 slots. So things are a little different here. We'll want the baths for the 2 slots, the cheese for the 2 slots, and then we'll have what left? That's 2 and 2, and then we'll have 2 slots left, so maybe we'll give them eggs because that's easier than Sampa, takes less space, and we'll give them the mandala because that also takes less space than having to build the, all the barley fields and the mill and all that good stuff. So that's how you kind of balance what you want to do based on how much room you have and what's more affordable or viable. So let's get the ball rolling on that. First up, we're going to go ahead and establish some baths. I suppose I could pop you down up there. Seems like a decent spot. Should have... If we need to expand more housing, I want to make sure they'll have access as well. So this should be okay. Pop you down there. And apart from baths, we have access later on in the full game. We'll have access to yak races, commodity suppliers, and inns as well to provide ale to citizens in range. So some good stuff over there. But for the time being, we've got our bath. Sorry, I keep clicking the middle mouse button, expecting it to zoom me in further, but it does the opposite. It takes you out so you can see your glorious city in full form. Anyway, those are our baths. These guys have some fulfillment there. Let's go ahead and get the mandala placed as well, simply because it is relatively easy. But we have not got the room for it. A little too far up there. Why don't we go ahead and put it up next to the marketplace then? Sure. Pop you down there. And that should fill 1 slot as expected based on what we saw on the demands. Now we need some food. So cheese and eggs is what I was thinking. Let's build that stuff up on this side, I'm thinking. So let's go with our cheese production first. We have our Yak Shack, which is an excellent name. I know it's just very descriptive, but like it sounds like it could be. It sounds like Shake Shack, and I think that's why I chuckle at it every time I see it. But yes, let's get a Yak Shack going. Pop you down where? Pop you down like over here or something. The cheesemaker is going to need access to the marketplace to deliver the finished goods to the market. So I want to see what my range is there. Let's take this road a little bit further out, and let's see how far we can go. Right about to there. All right, so let's pop you down over here, and let's get the Yak Shack right next to you. We'll want the Yak Shack sending milk out to the cheesemaker, and the cheesemaker is going to send cheese out to the marketplace. And that should now provide cheese to these guys, and we've got baths as well, and our mandala. Let's go ahead and get our eggs going. Because again, eggs are easier than, you know, the mills and everything for the tsampa. Pop you down here. I'm wondering if I leave a gap for a road to go down that way or something. Sure, yeah, let's go ahead and pop you down over... Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's pop you down over here. And let's get a road set up like that. Cool. And then the eggs... We're just out of reach. That's what I was worried about. That's okay. Resources aren't too... like, we don't have to spend money to destroy buildings or anything, so it's not the end of the world if we place things a little off. Let's go ahead and establish you down here after all, I guess. And let's send those eggs over to here. Now, this distribution range isn't going to be as much of a big deal in just a moment's time, but for the time being, it absolutely is. So we're working around it, obviously. But as you can see, these guys are now ready to upgrade. So let's take a good look at how this actually looks. Nice upgraded houses. Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hang on a second. Are they? Is this being filled out over time? It absolutely is. That is such a nice touch. Oh, that's so cool. Mandalas, again, some of you might be familiar, but they are like, depending on which part of the world your mandala is from, first of all, it'll be called something a little different. But second of all, it is made using different materials. So sometimes it's like a more powdery thing, sometimes it's a more pasty kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's awesome. It's also got like random Hindi letters in there. I don't know if they actually hold any significance. Typically, I think you would expect to see like the Om character or symbol or whatever you want to call it, but these are just kind of random Hindi-looking symbols. All right, fair enough. Now, hang on, sorry. I digress, but I want to see if they're the same. They are the same. It's not like they're further randomized. They do look the same. But that's cool that they get filled out over time. That's neat. That is neat. I didn't notice that before. All right, there's our upgrading done. What's next? Now it's time to expand upwards. Cool. Let's go ahead and establish a shaft. Like I said a couple times already, different layers provide different resources. As you'll see up over here, we'll have access to copper, which is not something you'll get at your lowest level. So you'll eventually have to expand if you want to meet growing needs, right? Like, holy crap, look at that. To get to level 3, that's so much more that they need. We'll learn more in a moment. But let's go ahead and place the shaft down over here. I think it makes sense. We'll get the road going up, and then people can head right up to... Can I make this a straight line? Yeah, sure, that's straight enough, I suppose. Pop you down there, and let's go ahead and connect the road. Beauty. Next up, we're going to actually talk a little bit about how different zones produce goods with different levels of efficiency. So our beekeeper, as we hover over it, you can see, has a production rate of 2 per, let's call it, tick at the topmost tier, and 2 per tick at the bottommost tier. So if you have room for it, ideally, you'd put a beekeeper down in the middle tier because there the production is 2.5 times as great, right? So again, that's another thing to balance as you deal with more complex opportunities and resources. But yes, let's go ahead and get the beekeeper set up over here. I'm thinking we'll first expand the road upwards like so. And why don't we go ahead and establish the road out like this as well, just to kind of like get a bit of a shape going up over here. So let's get the beekeeper established. I'm thinking here, and we're actually going to move away from the regular movement of goods as we've seen it so far, because obviously this is too far away for honey to be delivered down to this marketplace, right? It's nowhere near the marketplace. So to deliver at those distances and between levels, we have to use warehouses. Now, they come with different abilities and I assume carry capacities and speed of good movement. So that's something to keep in mind. And at the end here, we'll have access to a trading post eventually at some point in time in the full game. But for the time being, we have our warehouse. warehouses are manned by artisans. So just like all these buildings were, worked by the laborers, our warehouses are worked by artisans. So let's go ahead and put a warehouse down over here, and let's go ahead and ship the honey to the warehouse, and then the warehouse is stockpiling honey and using carriers to send that honey down to this marketplace and down to this marketplace. So you can have multiple endpoints from a warehouse, and they allow you to distribute at much larger distances. They do not have radius limitations. So that's where you can kind of stop caring about having things close enough to your marketplace and so on and so forth. Some distribution obviously is still reliant on radius, like the marketplace goods reaching the actual houses, but as far as goods reaching the marketplace, you have a bit more flexibility. Now, as we distribute our carriers between the two marketplaces, between the two routes, let's take a look at demand, right? So this marketplace wants 2.1 honey, and this marketplace wants 2.9. So let's go ahead and spread them out accordingly to make sure everyone's kind of having their needs sated. You can see honey over here now, and you can see with these guys, honey over here. Just the one slot compared to the 2 slots for the artisans. So again, it's how these guys kind of differ, and with the monks later on as well, things will be a little different, one can imagine. Either way, let's upgrade this house over here, because why not at this point in time? And let's move on to the next step, which has to do with copper utensils. So we can establish mines in a couple of ways. I believe one is to actually go over here and select your copper mine and so on and so forth. The other is actually very intuitive, very good quality of life decision here. You can simply click on the resource itself and click build mine, and boom, it's done. Love it. Love little touches like this. Let's go ahead and place the sort of delivery point of the resources down here, and let's go ahead and establish a road like so. Cool. We need some yaks. We need 4 yaks. We could put them down over here because, again, populations can traverse the tiers, the strata, without any issues. So we might as well put this down over here next to the other yak farm. Yeah, sure, pop you down there. Let's go. And let's get this road established here as well. Cool. We got 6. 4 of them have been assigned here, and we need to get the next step of this production chain, which is the copper utensil maker. Let's pop you down. Again, the radius doesn't really matter. We'll put some warehouses down over here, so that's fine. Let's get you... Yeah, sure, here. Because what we'll do is send from you to here. And eventually, to upgrade our 20 houses to level 3, we're going to need copper down over here to fill up some slots, and down over here as well. Copper can fill up some slots. I say copper, I mean copper utensils. There are some other options as well. We'll maybe chase textiles, or maybe we'll try and get some cheese over here too. Very simple to do because we have all the tools needed to do so. Let's get the warehouse set up over here first. Yeah, sure. Let's just pop you down there. Send you out to there, and from here, we'll send utensils down to this marketplace and down to this marketplace. Let's take a look at our artisan count. We have 22 left over, so plenty of room for additional warehouses. But what do you need here? 1.3 and 1.9. All right. 1.3 and 1.9. Get you up to 1.3. Let's get you up to 1.9. Cool. And you might have seen that over here, these guys are actually seeing a lack of honey. They don't have enough honey. That's because we upgraded this house and didn't make adjustments accordingly. So we got to get this up to 3.1 now. Up to 3.1. Can we do that without too much trouble? Well, if we get you up to 3.1, you aren't getting enough because this warehouse doesn't actually have enough resources. If we bring these down to 0, you'll see that this warehouse is only getting 5 honey per tick, which means regardless of how many carriers we add, we can only distribute so much. So in the interest of bringing honey to the people, let's build another beekeeper. Pop you down over here. We'll get this guy sending his resources to this warehouse as well. And warehouses can collect resources from as many production points as you'd like. However, one warehouse can only hold one specific resource, which is why you'll need a multitude of warehouses for a multitude of resources. But with that extra honey coming through, we should now be able to please everyone. Let's get you up to 3.1. Yeah, looks like everyone's good. Everyone's getting their honey. Excellent. Moving on. What do we want next? We got copper utensils. We got honey. Let's go ahead and take a look at Sure, textiles. To get textiles going, we can use our yak shack over here because it's producing wool as well. And if we take a look here, we can establish our weaver who will take that wool and turn it into textiles. Now, the yak shack produces, what, 5? Each yak shack gives us 5 wool, which is enough for the weaver to produce 5 textiles. I don't know if that'll be enough, but we'll work with it. We'll work with it. Let's put you down here like so. Let's get the road set up like this. And what we'll do is we'll get a warehouse set up over here. I think that'll work nicely. You're not receiving input resources. That's because I haven't told this building to send wool up to here, which it will now do. And you will then send your textiles over to this warehouse. And this warehouse will send to this marketplace and to this marketplace. Now, how much do they actually want? You want 1.9 and you want 2.8. All right. We actually don't have enough carriers. We're out of artisans. So let's establish some more housing for these guys, shall we? Let's go ahead and build some artisans' houses. Hopefully they'll have access to the marketplace out over here. I imagine they will, but maybe not the next layer over. Let's see what we can do. And of course, as we put these houses down, it's more people asking for more stuff. So all of a sudden, we don't have enough copper utensils here, right? So you have to be careful about how you establish and how you expand your housing and stuff like that compared to the demands of the people. Let's go ahead and upgrade you. And what do we need here now? 2.4 versus over here 2.8. 2.4 and 2.8. That's obviously over 5, so we will need more production. Let's go ahead and establish that production, actually. Get my yak shack established up over here. Well, before we do that, let's get the weaver established over here. And then we can get the road like so. And the yak shack can go over here. We'll have room for another cheese maker if we want, which, you know what, I think we would want. So why don't we go ahead and get that going. The cheese maker over here. Let's get the road like so. Cool. We'll need some more yaks. Let's go ahead and establish another yak farm. Yak breeding farm, I suppose. Can't fit it down here. Can we fit you up here? Yes, we can. Beauty. Not enough lowlanders. All right, let's go ahead and establish some lowlanders huts then. We have some room over here right next to the mandala. Sounds like a pretty prestigious place to live, actually. We'll leave a bit of a gap. Feels like the right thing to do. And with that, let's get you sending your milk over here and your wool up there. Let's get you sending things over to here. And what we'll do is we'll establish another warehouse for the distribution of cheese, actually. I think that's the right call. Let's build a warehouse. Where? Yeah, sure. Let's pop you down over here. What we want to do is get the cheese not going to this marketplace anymore, but to this warehouse instead. And what we'll do is get the warehouse sending cheese up there and over here. Obviously, by doing this, we're now using more artisans than we otherwise would if the cheese was just automatically being sent over here. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and add to that end, though, some additional housing. Pop these guys down. Looks like we're okay. You need some... All right. Let's take a look at demands here. 2.9 cheese, 2.6 cheese. We should be able to pull that off. So 2.9 and 2.6. We don't have enough carriers? Oh my goodness. All right. Upgrade some of these buildings. Come on. There we go. That should be good for cheese. We have some surplus, actually. And as far as textiles are concerned, we need what here? We need 3 and 3.1. All right. Should be able to do that. There you go. That should be good. Yep, these guys are all ready to upgrade. We got to upgrade 20 houses to level 3, so that's what we're working towards right now. But obviously, as we do that, we have to keep expanding our production capabilities, right? We need more honey here, and we need more copper utensils here as well. 2 copper utensils here. Can we swing that? Yes, we can. Excellent. And how much honey? 3.3. All right. There you go. That should be good. Let's go ahead and upgrade some of these houses. We'll need more copper utensils. Oh, and look at that. Look at that. Like, it gets pretty intense. We'll need a second type of enlightenment, for example. It's cool. It's cool. I like the system. I think it's very inventive. Again, I've not seen something like it before. So it's very, very cool to me. Just hypothetically speaking, you know, if I guess here I would have to give them copper utensils to get there. I could get them tsampa to fill 1 slot, but we need something for prosperity. just thinking about like how we could approach this differently if we wanted to. Again, this is a demo, so some of this stuff will get rebalanced, but I really hope the developers double down on this extremely kind of unique upgrade system. I think it's got, I think it's cool. Sorry, I will stop belaboring that point. I know I've said it over and over again, but I do just find it that compelling. Let's get some more mining going down over here. Trying to figure out how I want to establish this. Let's pop you down like that. Can I get this guy over here? No, we need full connections, right? This thing needs a proper connection to the actual road system. So let's pop you down like that. Don't love it. Get rid of that. Pop you down like this. Then I should be able to get the utensil maker over there. Cool. And what I can do is get the road set up like this. So you don't have enough workers. We'll fix that shortly. But you'll send your resources over to here. You'll send your resources over to here. And again, it'll get distributed, right? We need some more huts. Now, I should be able to put these huts up over here as well, if I wanted to. But we got plenty of room down over here. And these guys already have access to all sorts of resources. You know, we've got the infrastructure set up over here, so why not, right? You know what? Actually, I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done is upgraded some of these buildings instead. Same impact, takes up less space. Need more resources, though. Get some of these upgrades going. And as you can see, when you upgrade a building, it takes resources away. So if I upgrade this guy, okay, I was really hoping I'd be able to show how it eats up more resources, so you might not be able to upgrade other guys because they no longer have access to those resources, but didn't get a chance to show that. Let's upgrade you as well. Cool. And let's start moving some resources. We need 6 more upgraded to level 3. What do we need here? 4.9. Oh, crap. These guys need a lot of stuff. Okay. So 3.3 and 2.8. 2.8 and 3.3. So 2.8 and 3.3. That's that taken care of. Next up, let's look at honey. You need 4.6 and you need 4.1. 4.6 and 4.1. So there's 4.6 and 4.1. Nice and easy. Next up is cheese. 4.1 over here. But we got to make sure these guys are still getting 4.6. So 4.6 and 4.1. Cheese is down here. Nope. Cheese is down here. And you make an order of cheese. You end up getting textiles instead. Or vice versa. Not ideal. So that's cheese taken care of. And next up is textiles. These guys want 4.9 versus 4.1. So 4.1 and 4.9 should be sustainable. Yeah, we're good. Cool. So now these guys are able to upgrade, but immediately it makes a hit. That's okay. Keep upgrading these guys. And over here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. You know what? Let's pop you up as well. Why not? Before we continue, I want to try and meet these needs over here. It's not a necessity, but it'd be nice, right? But we're actually a little tight on textiles. No, we're good. We're good. We got wiggle room still. We need cheese and honey. Cheese and honey. Go ahead and send some more honey this way. Good stuff. Cheese is down here, right? Yeah. Bring some more over. And now we need some utensils as well. Bring some more over. Nice. Everyone's taken care of. Everyone's happy. Next up, we're going to put an avalanche inducer in the topmost region. Now, this is a really cool system. Again, I love how this game doubles down on things that you couldn't really sensibly do in other settings. Snow accumulates over the course of your playthrough. And you can see it listed over here. Snow accumulation right now is very low, which means a natural avalanche is very unlikely to happen. But if an avalanche were to happen right now, it wouldn't go very far. It would only do so much damage. Whereas if the snow accumulates to a certain threshold or beyond a certain threshold, it could have devastating effects, and that's when a natural avalanche is more likely to happen. So you want to try and establish things like an avalanche inducer to trigger that avalanche when it's not really as scary, and deal with the what should I say, consequences when they're not as bad as they could be. Apart from the avalanche inducer, we have watchtowers over here to take control over further mountain areas. Ooh, very interesting. We've got donation spots used for collecting donations from citizens. Higher satisfaction level of occupants, the more generous the donations. Cool. Building also increases your money capacity, which is, I assume, up over here. We've got the donation spots. Sorry, we were already looking at that. The avalanche barrier helps block small avalanches. Larger ones will be weakened by trees as well. So, we were pretty, what's the word I want to use? Like, gung-ho about just breaking down trees, but in the final game, you'll actually want to be careful about using trees to your advantage because they'll slow avalanches down, and once they get slowed down enough and broken up enough, the avalanche barrier can kick in as well. So again, just very interesting mechanics over here. What other game could do that reasonably? It's just so good. Road Cleaner will clear roads in its range to avoid accumulation of dirt and dung, which can limit the speed at which the road can be traveled. Good stuff. Next up, we have the Base Camp, building used to transport resources from High Zone to the mountain peak or Summit Temple. Right, I've been saying 3 tiers for so long. Fact of the matter is that there is, in fact, a 4th tier, but that's only meant for your Summit Temple at the peak. At least that's my understanding of how the game's been described so far. Then we have our Cedar Painter to turn dye and cedar wood into painted cedar for certain kinds of construction, and the Statue Foundry to make golden statues. Can I actually access money minting, gold mines, and the mint to turn gold into money? I can't see this category. We've already taken a look at this category. We have, what else do we have? Just thought I'd explore this a little bit, why not? The Monastery Enlightenment Center for your monks increases research level by 1, satisfying the need for monastery access for nearby monks. Very high upkeep, and research isn't something we have access to here, but eventually, you know, I assume this is how you unlock more advanced buildings. We have the Praying Place, satisfies the need for praying place access for nearby citizens, requires no workers. There's the Monastery Wall, monastery enclosure. Monks like to live in a house surrounded by a monastery wall. Interesting. We got the Gong, satisfying the need for bell access. I mean, okay, I understand that. I would love to have a gong in my neighborhood. It's kind of cool, sure. The Shrine provides incense to nearby citizens. You have to supply the shrine with incense produced by incense makers. Very fitting for the setting as well. Now we've got our Yak Guardian. Satisfies the need for Yak Guardian access for nearby citizens. Do you mean like literal, like a guard on Yak back? Is that a thing? That's cool. What is this? Incense production. For that you would need a herbalist and a cedar grove, which, as you can see, works best at the highest level, well, the 3rd level I should say, compared to the middle and the bottom. And apart from that, you'll need an incense maker who makes that into what? Incense? And then here's the shrine where that incense is actually provided to the citizens, separate from the marketplace. Cool. Then we've taken a look at most of the production stuff already. We've got, again, under this category, baths, yak races, commodity suppliers, and inns. But separately, we've seen this, we haven't seen this. Okay, now here's where the production chains get a bit more complex. Lumber mill provides with wood. Presumably, it'll, produce based on how many trees are nearby. Significantly decreases the power of passing avalanches, but never stops them completely. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they'll produce their own trees as well, it looks like. Anyway, there's the barley field, then there's the charcoal pile, processing wood into coal. Those two come together to the brewery, where things get turned into ale, and the ale is then sent to the inn. All right, good stuff. Next up, we have ornaments production. So lumber mill for that, and then the charcoal pile, gold mine plus copper mine coming together for the ornament foundry, making ornaments. Good stuff. And this is what? Baked goods. Ooh, all right, lumber mill and barley field, charcoal pile and mill. Then we've got our beekeeper, and we've got our chicken farm, for the eggs, of course, coming to a confectionery. They use coal to turn tsampa, eggs, and honey into baked goods, which can be distributed to citizens via commodity supplier. So again, you can't use the marketplace for it, you can't use the incense shop for it, you need the commodity supplier to deliver these goods to the people that want them. Cool. Next up, we have butter lamps. So for that, we'd need the yak shack, the copper mine, and the lumber mill. The butter beater turns yak milk into butter, as opposed to the cheese maker, who turns the same milk into cheese instead. And then you've got the copper utensil maker and the charcoal pile, alongside the butter beater at the butter lamp maker, making butter lamps, which can also be distributed via commodity supplier. All right, cool stuff. And then finally here, dyed textiles. Need the herbalist, need a mineral mine. Oh, interesting. Can only be built on cliff spots with mineral deposits. Fair, just like the copper mine. Yak shacks, pigment maker, taking minerals and making them into dyes with the help of herbs. Gotcha. Then you have the weaver, and ultimately the dye house. Very cool. So many categories. Like, there's so much depth here that we haven't been able to explore because this is a demo, but my goodness. Now, we've seen all of these, but let's take a look at fish production. We just need a fishery. I'm very curious. A river. Oh, of course. Yeah, mountains are the sources of river. I was like, there aren't any, I haven't seen any rivers here, but, in the full game, I assume you'll get mountains with rivers and stuff like that. Good stuff. All right, cool. Very cool. What else do we have here? Smoked meat. We need the goat farm, we need the lumber mill, and the smokehouse. All right, and then finally here, butter tea. Yak shack, butter beater, herbalist, salt mine, gotcha, and ultimately the butter tea maker. Just look at the number of resources, right? There's so many moving parts. And then you got to consider the distribution of these goods. You got to consider actually, getting workers to those production places and stuff like that as well. Lots of moving parts. And who knows if there's more to come, if more gets revealed, if you research more stuff. Because here it just says, required research 1. All right, cool. I was so used to seeing not available in demo, I thought that was the only thing. But no, it looks like research will, in fact, unlock higher tier buildings and resources. This is cool. This is very exciting stuff. But, sorry. Let's get back on track over here. Let's go ahead and establish our connection to the top level here. Let's get our road connection here. And let's extend you out this way and build our avalanche inducer. And you can see the radius in which it has an effect, right? If we pop it down over there, you can see this inducer will not be able to trigger that avalanche, but it will be able to trigger this one. So you want to place them accordingly to make sure you're either being very precise or you are maximizing the spread. Ooh, mineral deposits. Ooh, all right, sorry, getting distracted. Let's pop you down over here. Let's go ahead and make sure you have access to the 12 yaks you need. I think we'll go ahead and build the yak breeding grounds up over here, because this is one of those emergency structures that needs access to its resources immediately, or whatever lore explanation you want to give. But let's go ahead and, trigger an avalanche. How big is this got? Critical. All right. Let's go for it. It would typically be automatically triggered at level 80, but because this is the demo and because it wants to show how this works, it didn't automatically trigger the avalanche. That's fine, but good to know that there is a hard number, in fact, for the final build of the game. But let's go ahead and trigger the avalanche. Let's see how it looks. Isn't that so sick? Isn't that so cool? And you saw that the avalanche went in a specific direction based on where it was at the mountaintop. So you could hypothetically build accordingly, and take a look at the GIF in the middle there, showing how the walls actually work to protect your housing, to protect your work, and redirect the avalanche. We already talked about how good trees are. You can see how these trees don't get affected because all these trees actually slow the avalanche down before it's even able to make it this far, whereas this clear path allows the avalanche to go all the way. Sorry, I gotta say, this is a very nice GIF. It says so much in one frame here. You can see so much game mechanics in just this one little GIF here. Very, very, very well picked, this one. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Laysara Summit Kingdom, folks, if you like the look of it, if this seems interesting to you, go ahead and wishlist it on Steam. Again, it's a great way to show support to the developers, to show people are interested. It's a great motivator, I'm sure, or at least I imagine it would be for me if I was a developer. And yeah, it's a great way to stay up to date with the game's development cycle for yourself. Separately, if you like this showcase and if you'd like to see more like it, don't hesitate to hit the like button and leave a comment down below. And apart from that, if you're new to this channel, you might want to consider subscribing, because I like to highlight these kinds of games. It's my bread and butter, if you will. It's my favorite genres of games, and you'll see basically only city builders, sim games, management games, and strategy games on this channel. With that said, though, folks, this is where we're calling it. I hope you enjoyed this showcase. Again, if you did, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and again, don't hesitate to wishlist Laysara Summit Kingdom. As always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.